Okay, so you've probably heard of the science that decides which humans are objectively the best based on physical traits. This kind of thing is a natural consequence of the materialistic age we're living in. You may be an atheist and think, well, I don't like it, I don't like the concept, it's unfair, but it is what it is, you know? You can't argue with the science. Or you may be in favour of it completely as one of those disturbed by the disastrous consequence of the immigration policies in the West. Eugenics is at the core of our society, whether we like it or not, because we've become increasingly ignorant of spiritual realities and what's actually going on in the evolution of humanity. To explore this, we're going to use one of Rudolf Steiner's lectures. This will be the usual format of these videos, as there's endless wisdom that can be delved into when it comes to Steiner, and it's all especially pertinent for our times. A lot like the Bible, which will also feature heavily in these videos. This is an excerpt from Lecture 5 of a series called The Fall of the Spirit of Darkness, given on the 7th of October 1917 in Dornach, Switzerland. In 1912, a science called Eugenics was established in London. People tend to use highfalutin names for anything which is particularly stupid. And yet that word, highfalutin, had me feeling quite stupid. If anyone else is in the same boat, it means, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, trying to seem very important or serious, but without having a good reason to do so, and looking silly as a result. Okay, continuing. The ideas you find in eugenics really came from people's brains and not from their souls. What are the aims of this science? To ensure that only healthy individuals are born in future and not inferior ones. Economics and anthropology are to join forces to discover the laws according to which men and women are to be brought together in such a way that a strong race is produced. Okay, as soon as we hear strong race, I know we're all thinking of the same person. He may even have been on your mind as soon as you saw the title of the video. Turns out that person didn't come up with his ideas on his own. He got them from London, where this stuff actually started. Well, it started in our era at least. More on that later. People are really beginning to think in this way. The ideal of the London Congress, which was chaired by Darwin's son, was to examine people of different classes to see how large the skulls of the rich were compared to those of the poor, who have less opportunity for learning, how far sensibility went in rich and poor, how far the rich could resist getting tired, and how far the poor would do so, and so on. They want to gain information on the human body in this way, which may at some future date enable them to establish exactly the following. This is how the man should look. This is how the woman should look if they are to produce the true human being of the future. He should have such a capacity of getting tired, and she such a capacity, this size skull for him, and a matching size for her, and so on. Now, if you've spent any time at all in right-wing commentators' comment sections, you've probably heard the phrase, low impulse control, and along with general claims that Africans are less intelligent, and these are meant to be based on studies done on their brains at some point. I'm not too sure, but that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. Now, in this video, I'm not trying to assert that genetics make no difference whatsoever. However, this difference is so surface level that it will never come close to allowing people to reach a true understanding of humans and their behavior, especially in times like these when physical heredity is becoming more and more detached from a person's true inner being. Continuing. These are the rumblings, natural rumblings in brains which are emptied of soul. Ideas rumbling about which had reality in the Atlantean age. Then there really were laws which enabled people to determine size, growth, and all kinds of things by crossbreeding and the like. It was a science that was widespread in Atlantean times, and as I mentioned yesterday, sorely misused. Atlantean science worked on the basis of physical relationships, and it was known that if such a man was brought together with such a woman, differences between men and women were much greater at the time. The result would be such and such a creature, and then a different variety could be produced, just as plant breeders do today. The mysteries brought order into this crossbreeding, where related and different elements were brought together. They established groups and withdrew anything which had to be withdrawn from humanity. The blackest of black magic was practiced in Atlantean times. And order was created by establishing classes and taking these matters out of human control. This was one of the factors which led to the nations and races of today. The issue of the nation as an entity is coming up again in our present time. It is an echo of the soulless brain from Atlantean times. Okay, so we're seeing Atlantis, and to clarify, Atlantis is the civilization, the advanced civilization that developed before it was submerged by the flood disaster. We're seeing Atlantis manifest itself in our times in a number of different ways. Eugenics, other black magic practices disguised as modern science, the supposed UFOs, which are for the most part re-engineered Atlantean craft that they've been producing in bulk since the Nazis started. There is so much talk about national issues today, but it is only the body speaking. The spirit has withdrawn and already belongs to a totally different world today. There you have the discrepancy between the reality and the speechifying about the principle of nationality which goes on today. This will never lead to anything good. If politics are based on issues relating to nations, which are no longer issues of the day because the soul belongs to entirely different orders and realms than those which come to expression in our physical nature, this will inevitably take us into chaos over and over again. All this must be known, and it can only be known through anthroposophy. Those rumblings in brains emptied of soul are the reason why ideas that human beings should be produced on the basis of certain laws are now coming up again. There you have it. Whether you're atheist, agnostic, Christian, or any other faith, these are definitely things you might want to go away and think about. If not, you'll be caught unawares by the raging tide of the times and find yourself drowning in a materialistic abyss without a dot of spiritual truth in sight, let alone the light of Christ. We'll finish on a quote by Jesus, as we will for all videos going forward. This one relates to how the end times of our era will be a lot like that of the Atlantean era, which ended with the Great Flood we read about in the Bible. Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 to 41. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill, one will be taken and the other left.